Hello and welcome to Total Football Analysis's live coverage of Brighton and Hove Albion versus Chelsea in the Premier League. We're really looking forward to this one. Lots of new players on show for Frank Lampard's Chelsea, and of course Brighton and Hove Albion looking to build on last season. Of course, they stayed in the division, which will be regarded by many as a success. Graham Potter's side now looking to push on, looking to develop a little bit further. This broadcast is brought to you by footballicons.com, and wherever you're listening to us from or watching us from, make sure you smash the like button. A big hello to those of you currently tuned in via Hot Mic. A hello to those of you watching us on either of the YouTube channels that we are currently broadcasting on. Throughout the evening, we'll be asking you guys to put your comments and your questions in the live chat. We'll be coming to as many of those as we possibly can. I'm going to be joined by Lee Scott in just a few minutes, who will be joining me to take you through this one. But in the meantime, let's have a quick look through the two starting lineups. Let's start, of course, with Brighton and Hove Albion. The home side this evening, their side is made up of Matt Ryan, Ben White, Adam Webster, Lewis Dunk, Tariq Lamptey, Adam Lallana, Yves Bissouma, Stephen Alzate, Solly March, with Leandro Trossard and Neil Maupay, the forwards. Looking at Chelsea's side, it's Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. It's a back four of Reece James, Andreas Christensen, Kurt Zouma and Marcus Alonso. In the middle of the park, it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Jorginho and N'Golo Kante. And in the front three, it's Mason Mount and the two new boys, the two big money signings, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. The pair both start this evening, and we're looking forward to seeing what they can do. Of course, Frank Lampard playing down the impact that those two are expected to have this evening. He kept talking about the fact that he didn't want people to expect too much from them just now. It is very early days. They've only been training for a little while, but I think everybody tuning into this game is looking forward to seeing those two in action. Right, I'm delighted to be joined by Lee Scott. Lee, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you. A few technical issues, but we seem to be there now.
No worries. Delighted to have you on board. Delighted to have you alongside me for this one. Was just running through the two sides. Lee, of course, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz both start. That is the big news this evening. I was just saying Frank Lampard has played down what he expects them to do in terms of impact on tonight's game. Are you looking forward to seeing these two in the Premier League?
I think it'll be really interesting to see, not just for the Premier League as a whole, but for tonight's match, exactly what we're going to get from Timo Werner in particular. He's going to have to acclimatise and get used to a completely different tactical system. He's used to playing as part of a two at RB Leipzig with Yusuf Poulsen or Patrick Schick playing up front with him. So playing as a lone forward, it will be a completely different test for him. He's somebody who we can expect to see pull over to the left-hand side often, similar to Thierry Henry when he was at Arsenal in the Premier League. He makes similar movements from outside to in and inside to out. So he'll look to drag the Brighton defenders around. But Kai Havertz is another. Exactly where you use Kai Havertz was always the question when Chelsea were trying to sign him. Will he play as the 8? Will he play as a 10? Will he play as a 9? Nobody knows. So it'll be fascinating to see how the first 10 minutes go.
Absolutely. Guys, get your predictions in the live chat. We've got a few coming through already. Plenty of people feeling as though Chelsea are going to run away with this one. Nicholas Edwards says 4-0 to Chelsea. Sam says, I've got a feeling Brighton will surprise a few this season. And they're defensively a great side and well managed. So Sam confident that Brighton can do something this evening. Now, we've been through the starting lineups. Lee, I wanted to get your thoughts on Ben White because he's a player who received a lot of praise last season. Of course, was part of Marcelo Bielsa's lead side that earned promotion to the Premier League. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to keep hold of him. But, you know, is he someone that, in your opinion, is ready for this level? Is he going to show his quality in the Premier Division this season?
I don't think there's any doubt at all that Ben White is ready for the Premier League now. Last season, he was not only the best defender in the Championship, for my money, he was the best player. He's not someone who you would automatically conclude was a central defender if you look at him and look at his physical stature. He's not the biggest in terms of his height. He's not the most powerful. But what he does have is an uncanny ability to be positioned in the right place at the right time. which is really important for defensive players. And in possession, he's one of the best central defenders in English football. His ability to progress the ball from the back and to bring the ball out, to dribble towards the halfway line, to engage a press is second to none. At least last season in the Championship, it was second to none. I think that Brighton have been very smart to hold on to him in the face of that interest from Leeds United in terms of completing a permanent deal. Brighton will be aware that if he does well this season in the Premier League, then next season, hopefully when there's a little bit more money in the market, they're looking at a real premium fee from a Champions League level club for him.
Absolutely, he's just on your screens now. Don't forget, if you're watching us via the Hot Mic app, you can sync our broadcast with your television pictures. That will allow you to make sure everything is in time. We've also got a clock for you this evening as well. I know a lot of you have been asking for that in the streams, so we've got one just here, and that way you can keep a check on the time yourself and make sure that it is all up to speed, all in sync, and that way you can enjoy the watch along with us as best as possible. Lots to look forward to. Two of Chelsea's big money signings. They're playing tonight as Frank Lampard's side look to get their Premier League campaign off to a winning start at Brighton. Now, of course, Chelsea's defence isn't exactly, hasn't exactly been watertight, has it, Lee? And it's Christensen at the back today. And I'm not too keen on him from what I've seen so far. What's your take on him?
I think Andres Christensen is a player who has suffered slightly from the amount of loan moves that he had earlier in his career. He was actually fantastic in the Bundesliga. I think he spent a 2-year loan spell at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and I think that after that they tried to sign him on a permanent deal, but Chelsea wouldn't let him go. Now, when he did move back to Germany to England, sorry, to Chelsea for that season, he wasn't given enough consistent playing time at first team level, and that really impacted him from where he had been playing constantly in Germany. Suddenly he found himself struggling to get into the team, struggling to get up to the pace of the Premier League. And he is somebody who has that ability to play from the back, but he's also got the ability to be a very calm, composed defender. The issue is that we haven't seen that from him on a consistent basis. And I think that is one of the reasons that Chelsea have been strengthening so much in that central defensive position. The same can be said of Kepa in goal for Chelsea. There was a lot of talk that Chelsea were interested in Andre Onana, the Ajax goalkeeper, Cameroon international, and they're definitely looking to upgrade in one way or another on him.
Indeed, we're just about ready to get underway here, and we are underway at the Amex Stadium. Brighton, of course, in a change strip this year. It's pretty much all blue on top, white shorts, blue socks. Chelsea in all white. Looking forward to this one as Brighton are in possession early on. Hooked up into the air by Ben White. Here is Bissouma, who's so often a real powerful presence in the middle of that Brighton team. Such an important player for them, isn't he?
He is. He gives them that little bit of bite, but as well, he's got technical ability in there as well. He likes to receive the ball and he likes to play. Keep an eye in this match for Tariq Lampty, the right wing back for Brighton. Obviously, he was a Chelsea player who moved down to Brighton at the end of last season. He's a player with a really bright future, very exciting attacking player from the right wing back position.
Absolutely. Lots and lots of you tuned in with us at the moment. Over 100 of you are watching us live via the various platforms. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you're watching us via Hot Mic, as I said earlier on, you can synchronize the broadcast with your television pictures. Don't forget, this broadcast is brought to you by footballicons.com. We're telling you a little bit more about them during the half-time break. It's a Brighton throw-in on that far side. Tariq Lampty on your screens, who Lee has just been speaking glowingly about. Solly March will take this throw-in for Brighton. Not much in the way of movement, but plays it inside in the end. Here's Bissouma. Back out to March on that left-hand side. Of course, Adam Lallana making his first Premier League appearance for Brighton and Hove Albion. How do you think he'll fit in down at Brighton, Lee?
I think he'll be a very good player for Brighton. I think there's still definitely a player there. Injury issues aside, I think he's always been somebody who has the technical ability, and from a tactical point of view, he'll have learnt a lot over the last 2 years under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. I think it made perfect sense for him to move at this point in his career to a team like Brighton, who needed that extra experience just to help them move up to the next level.
Absolutely. Here is Kurt Zouma for Chelsea into Marcus Alonso. Back to Zouma. Into Reece James at right back. Here's Alonso once more. Back to the central defender. Looks to switch the play. Crossfield pass into Reece James. Takes it down on his chest. Will bring it forward for Chelsea. Lovely ball in behind for Timo Werner to run onto. The flag stayed down. Werner across the penalty area. I think it was Mason Mount coming across. The flag's gone up eventually. Of course, officials have been asked to delay raising the flag.
I don't understand that. That's one of the most annoying new rules, even above and beyond VR for me. This unwillingness that they have to flag offside until the last second.
I guess it's in case something materialises and they've got it wrong. But then it just feels like, why don't you just take the linesman out then, if that's the case?
Exactly.
So
that was good movement though from Timo Werner. That was a good delayed run. He angled his run to try and get beyond the defensive line, and then Mason Mount doing well to break in the penalty area, but there needs to be a little bit more intent from him with those balls coming into the penalty area. He needs to be on his toes a little bit more to make that movement towards the ball.
Indeed, and we covered Fulham versus Arsenal at the weekend, and we saw Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang doing that so well, coming in from that left-hand side at the far post.
Yeah.
And that's something that people should look at and learn from, I suppose.
Although you would say that as an Arsenal fan, Harry.
I would indeed. I would indeed. Here's Alzate, plays it out to Solly March. Back in field to Adam Webster. Into Lallana, takes a touch. Constantly being followed by Jorginho at the moment, but Brighton work this well. Here is Webster. He'll shoot from range. It's not troubling Kepa from there, though.
Adam Webster's a player I like a lot. Very smart pick-up by Brighton when they signed him from Bristol City. He was one of the best defenders in the Championship at the time, and he's really taken to Premier League football. Another one who progresses the ball very well. Obviously, that's a style and a profile of player that Graham Potter likes in that position.
Here's Kepa about to take this goal kick. 8 clean sheets in 33 Premier League appearances last season. And
yeah,
if Chelsea want to push on, it's not good enough, is it?
No, it's not good enough. It's looking early days like it's a 4-2-3-1 for Chelsea, with Kante and Jorginho playing almost as a double pivot in the midfield, giving Loftus-Cheek more license to get up towards Werner, which he'll like, because he'll like having those players around him when he gets possession.
Here is Lampty. Lovely 1-2 with Lallana. In towards Mope. Chelsea get it clear temporarily, but Bissouma takes it down on his chest and plays it out to the left-hand side, where Solly March will pick it up. Here's Alzate. His pass blocked, but he'll get another bite at the cherry.
Brighton are a very neat team in possession, very technical, good passes. They make good angles for one another to receive the ball. All they were really missing last season was that penetration at the last second, that 20-goal striker that they desperately need to take the next step. And Neil Maupay may become that at some point. He definitely has the potential, but they need to make sure that they're giving him the service that he needs.
I was just going to ask you that, whether you thought that Neil Maupay is the man who could potentially fill that void for Brighton.
I think he's an excellent forward. Very good movement, a good finisher as well when he gets chances, and he's got that streak. He's got that aggressive, nasty streak that top strikers tend to have. He wants goals. He doesn't care how he gets them, and that's something that I think a lot of teams are looking for these days of forward players.
Another one from the Brentford production line.
Yeah, very much so.
Here is Matt Ryan in the Brighton goal.
Chelsea are pressing quite high here. They were pressing with Loftus-Cheek, Havertz and Werner in the same line there, just trying to prevent Brighton from being able to play out.
I mean, Lee, we covered quite a fair bit of Bundesliga for Total Football Analysis when it first returned. We'd done, I think, 2 or 3 Bayer Leverkusen games, and we had a good look at Kai Havertz, for me, probably for the first real time. But, I mean, he was playing in a false 9 role at that point. How suited is he to playing on this right-hand side the way he is for Chelsea tonight? Is that where you'd expect him to play moving forward?
I think he's going to develop more into a player who occupies central spaces. I think he's a 10 or potentially a 9, even an 8. He has played wide in his career. That's part of the story of Kai Havertz. He's played so many different positions despite being so young and so early in his career. He's already got experience at playing in all these different roles. And what's really important, I suppose, is not where he is positioned on the pitch, but what the expectations are when they're in possession. So I would expect you'll still see Kai Havertz trying to make that diagonal run into the penalty area whenever he can.
Good header from Zuma there. Brighton have it back though with Webster. Into the channel looking for Solly March, but pass was just overhit. Throw in taken by Reece James. He's forced back to Christensen. Nice touch from Timo Werner. Nice bit of acceleration as well from the German. As Marcos Alonso comes forward. That's what he does best, Marcos Alonso. Not particularly renowned for his defensive stability, but he's certainly a threat going the other way.
He is, but I think that Werner may need to adjust his passes for Marcos Alonso's pace or relative lack of it these days. He does do very well attacking, but he's not the quickest of fullbacks these days.
Agreed. Here is Zuma into Christensen under pressure from Leandro Trossard. Kepa out to Zuma. Takes a touch with his left foot. Ball in field to Mason Mount. That's a lovely ball looking for Kai Havertz. It was just slightly overran in the end.
Yeah, that was close. And that was that movement we were just talking about. Havertz coming inside. You can see it here on your screens now. He makes a delayed run from a deeper position, giving him time to build momentum. And that was a good idea from Mason Mount to try and find that run. Again, you're probably seeing early season rustiness to an extent. Passes aren't quite calibrated, the weight's not quite right, the angle's not quite right. But when that all clicks, Havertz will be an extremely dangerous player for Chelsea moving into those positions tonight.
Here is Lewis Dunk into Ben White. Long ball forward in search of Adam Lallana, who'd made a move. Brighton still have possession though. Brighton have looked relatively comfortable so far. Here is Solly March back into Webster, playing on the left-hand side of the Brighton back three. Ball played forward. Find its way all the way back to Kepa though. Leandro Trossard was chasing it, but he was never going to get on the end of that, in fairness to him.
No, he's not a forward player who's going to get onto those passes. He's more of a wide player in truth. Somebody who's going to be used perhaps more centrally by Brighton going forward. And he is a very technical, skillful, tricky player and good in tight spaces, but he's not really renowned for being a player who deals well with balls in the air.
Here is Alonso. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching us, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Hot Mic, give us a like. Share the broadcast with your friends and family. Total Football Analysis, bringing you an alternative soundtrack to your football.
It's really good to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek back and back playing properly for Chelsea. He's a player with fantastic potential. I think there was a lot of interest in him before the start of the season. There were clubs linked to him, like Leicester City were interested at one point. So it's good to see him getting a run out properly.
Injuries have been an issue for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, but you're right. He's someone who has displayed incredible potential. Fingers crossed from a Chelsea perspective anyway. He can push on. Here is Jorginho. Into Alonso. Now Mason Mount. Back to Jorginho. Here's Reece James now. Kante's made an interesting run forward. Pulled out towards that right wing position. Just allowing Kai Havertz to drift infield there. I guess Kai Havertz created the space for him by doing that.
Yeah.
Here's Kante. Loose pass picked up by Adam Lallana. Nice turn from Bissouma, but he's dispossessed by Kai Havertz. Chance for Chelsea to turn this into an attack of their own. Here is Werner. Ben White will come away with the ball for Brighton. Looks to go past Alonso, who just closed the door on him, allowing Jorginho to get onto the ball. And Jorginho's drawn a foul out of the Brighton centre-half, who is pretty far up the field there.
He is, but he's no Rob Holding with his juggling the ball 6 times for Arsenal on Saturday. So maybe that's something Ben White is aspiring to.
That was some trickery displayed by Rob Holding. Didn't know he had it in him. There you go. You learn something every day. Here is James into Werner. Now Loftus-Cheek. James will get it back. Looks to throw one into the penalty area. Well dealt with by Lewis Dunk. Brighton in possession now. Solly March plays it forward towards Mopé. But just signs that Chelsea are starting to squeeze Brighton into their own half now.
Yeah, they are. They're starting to push them back. What's been really interesting in this first 13 minutes is our first real sighting of Timo Werner playing in a Chelsea shirt, and he's showing no signs of losing that aggressive, forward-thinking nature that was cultivated in him at RB Leipzig. They're a team who very much look for the vertical pass wherever possible. He's doing the same.
Here come Brighton with an attack of their own. They've won a corner as Neil Mopé's cross comes smashing off of Kurt Zouma. Opportunity for Graham Potter's side here to test out Chelsea's, I guess you could say, leaky defence, based on last season anyway.
You look at the Chelsea side and they're big, powerful. You think they deal with set pieces well, but Brighton tend to be quite good from these positions. Like so Webster especially, watch him try to make movements towards and across the ball.
Dunk is a threat too, as is Ben White. Here comes the ball in from Solly March, left-footed towards that far post. There was Webster underneath it. Bissouma turns it back in. It's put back across the goal, though. But Chelsea survive, and Chelsea look to break themselves. Here's Timo Werner. Looks really sharp, doesn't he, Werner?
Does, and there he is in that left-hand side. That's where he'll look to pull whenever possible. He likes to come out there. That's when he first started, when he first broke through at VfB Stuttgart in the German league. He was a left winger at the time. It wasn't until he moved to RB Leipzig he was converted into a central striker, and obviously he's gone on from there.
Chelsea have got a throw-in on this near side as a result of Timo Werner's efforts. Actually, a free kick in the end. The foul was given. Here is Andreas Christensen. What do you think the aspiration is for Chelsea this year, Lee? I know they've made some mega money signings, but it still feels to me very much like consolidating a Champions League position has to be their first port of call, as opposed to pushing on for the title.
It does, but I think that if you were to ask Frank Lampard, he would very much be of the opinion they should be going for the title this year. I think they're potentially a year away. I still think that, as you say, they've made a lot of signings. It remains to be seen. I mean, where would you put Hakim Ziyech into the team, for example? Potentially you'd play him from the right-hand side and you'd have Kai Havertz in the Loftus-Cheek position tonight, perhaps. But there are still question marks. Ben Chilwell still to come back in as well at left back. And all these players will take time to settle and to learn the tactical system. So I do feel as though they believe that they can win the title this year, but I think it may be 1 year away.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit premature to say that Chelsea are going to run Manchester City and Liverpool close, but you never know. Of course,
it just feels, I don't know. Last year, Chelsea got a lot of praise under Frank Lampard for their willingness to trust these young players that they had coming through. And then this summer, it feels like they've kind of pushed some of that out the window with this decision to go out and sign so many players and spend so much money. Where does Tammy Abraham find himself now? Where does Billy Gilmore find himself now? A player with a lot of talent who was getting first-team football and now is pushed out by all these players coming in. It's a question I would be asking if I were a Chelsea fan.
It's as though they've abandoned the very principles that their success were built upon last season. So be interesting to see how it plays out. And if there's increased pressure on Frank Lampard as a result, which I'm sure there will be if you're an owner and you've forked out hundreds of millions of pounds on top talent, you're going to expect results. And as we've seen in the past, Roman Abramovich doesn't wait around.
No, he doesn't. I think that Frank Lampard's a point. Well, I was about to say maybe Frank Lampard has a little bit more leeway given the fact that he is a Chelsea legend. But Jose Mourinho was also a Chelsea legend when he came back for his second stint at the club, and he still lost his job. So who's to say exactly how it will happen? I think that Chelsea are a club who are used to an element of success, maybe not constantly, but certainly cyclically. But they've been starved of success for a little while now, and they'll be fully aware of what's happening at the moment in North London with Arteta and Arsenal. They're fully aware of Liverpool and Manchester City, the potential of Manchester United strengthening. So Chelsea will be feeling now, I suppose, that they need to do something in order to close that gap and maintain their position.
Here's Jorginho just working his way out of trouble here, and Loftus-Cheek just draws a foul out of Ben White there on that far side. Just a little bit over-exuberant there, Ben White, a little bit over-eager to win the ball back for his team.
Interesting to see that he started on the right side of the defence tonight for Brighton. He was very much a left-sided central defender for Leeds all last season.
It's an interesting point.
Just little things like that, they change the picture of the game for these players, especially for young players. If you change the positional slot even slightly, it changes the way that they need to react to things. And it can be sometimes take a little minute for players to acclimatise to that.
Here is Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, my apologies, delivers it in. Werner flicks it towards the far post. It comes up off the foot of Webster, and Matt Ryan will gather it. But Mason Mount done really, really well there as the Brighton defender just hesitated.
Yeah, Mason Mount's a player who obviously impressed a lot last season. I think he has a very different skill set to what you would normally see from a wide player. More of a creator and a passer than he is a dribbler. But he's certainly someone that can have a real impact for Chelsea with those balls in the penalty area, especially with players like Werner with their clever movement to take advantage of that.
Here is Ben White. Might as well take the opportunity to ask you, Lee, how'd you get on in fantasy football after I cost you some serious points at the weekend?
I think I'm up to about 65 points. But I have Timo Werner. So
I have Timo Werner too.
We'll see how it goes this evening. Of course, if somebody hadn't talked me out of having Willian in midfield, it'd be far closer to triple digits and double digits.
Here come Brighton. They're in the Chelsea penalty area. It's cut back across the edge of the 6-yard box and hooked clear. Daryl Kane says, excellent point on Ben White. Nice to see people enjoying Lee's excellent analysis as we take you through this one for Total Football Analysis. I got 77 points, Lee, so I was pretty pleased with that. But I've got Timo Werner playing as well. So we'll see how, or if he can add to that total this evening. Stroke of genius, putting Mo Salah as my captain this weekend. Here is Matt Ryan for Brighton. Loose pass there in the midfield. Can Timo Werner pounce here? He's brought down by Matt Ryan. He knocked the ball past the Brighton goalkeeper. And it's a penalty to Chelsea and an opportunity for Frank Lampard's side to take the lead here. Werner was as sharp as anything there. A mistake from Brighton. And he's capitalised on it and won his team a penalty. Of course, it's going to be checked by the VAR. But we were talking about how sharp he looked. It's a loose pass in the middle of the park there. The ball's played forward. Werner just so quick to react, so quick to get a foot in there. I think the pass came from Mason Mount, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was very poor. I mean, Matt Ryan's a goalkeeper who is typically good with his feet, and it wasn't a bad pass in the midfield. But the second pass then, he played it without looking. He didn't check his shoulder. He didn't scan the field. He just played the ball straight into trouble. And very quick thinking from both Mason Mount to play that through ball, but also Timo Werner to be sharp, as you said, to get on the end of it. And his pace allowed him to nick the ball just ahead of Matt Ryan. And for me, there's no doubt that's a penalty. I believe it'll be Jorginho to take the penalty.
It is going to be Jorginho. The Italian international places the ball down on the spot. Can he put Chelsea in front? Got to have some sympathy for Matt Ryan there. Hung out to dry by his teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very difficult situation. Luckily, with the new rules in football, the goalkeeper's not at risk of a red card
Exactly.
for conceding a penalty.
Jorginho is going to step up. He is standing over the ball. Of course, the officials keeping a close eye on goalkeepers these days about moving off of their line. Here is Jorginho, steps up, right-footed, the little skip in the run-up, sends Matt Ryan the wrong way, and Chelsea lead at the Amex Stadium by a 0-0. It's Brighton 0, Chelsea 1, Jorginho the scorer.
He never misses. He's got this uncanny ability to take penalties. For a player who scores so rarely, to have that ability and that composure and that technique when taking penalties is a really interesting aspect of his game. But you're right, he has that little skip, that deliberate skip, something that we see from Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United as well. And he just waits for the goalkeeper to move and then puts the ball the other way. Very good technique.
He's got the captain's armband on as well this evening, Jorginho. And it's interesting, isn't it? He's come a long way as a Chelsea player when you consider that he was very much sort of earmarked as one of the issues with Maurizio Sarri's tenure at Chelsea. He was very heavily criticised, I thought unfairly at times, but he's come a long way under Frank Lampard, who clearly trusts in him and believes in him.
I think anybody who wants to criticise Jorginho should go back and watch his play at Napoli before he moved to Chelsea. He was absolutely fantastic at Napoli, one of the best midfielders in European football at the time. And he has that ability to organise the midfield, organise the attack, and just control the tempo of the game for his team, which is so coveted. Yes, he doesn't show up well in advanced statistics because his passes aren't always progressive, but he has that ability to always play the ball to the next safe man and to do the next right thing, if you like, in possession of the ball.
Here is Lampty for Brighton on this right-hand side. Now Adam Lallana, who's taken up position on the flank into Lampty, does well to hold on to the ball. Does really well to find Adam Lallana again. It's the edge of the box. Alzate strikes. Blocked by Christensen. Bissouma gets ahead in there, but Chelsea with another opportunity to break away. Lovely run from Timo Werner. He's been played in by Kai Havertz. Couple of Brighton defenders back now. Werner, one-on-one. Creates the space for the shot, but the shot was blocked in the end. It looked a tame effort in truth from Timo Werner.
Werner
just
wanted
signs.
to pass played. He wanted to pass played to this near side or to the central space, but instead Havertz played to pass to the far side, and Werner had to adjust his run, and that allowed the Brighton defender to catch up. If that pass had been played into his path, then I think Werner would have been away there.
Just a warning sign for Brighton, though, that if they do commit too many men forward and they don't make it count, Chelsea are so capable of springing a counter-attack. Here is Bissouma out to the right-hand side for Lamptey, who's come forward, delivers first time. Wonderful ball in, met by the head of Neil Maupay there, but he just couldn't direct it on goal. Brilliant delivery from Lamptey, though.
Yeah, that's what Lamptey gives you, that ability. He's great pace in the wide area, but his ball, his final ball is so often like that. He gets great trajectory in his crosses, great pace as well. And all Maupay had to do there, you can see he's just trying to adjust his time, and his run was slightly off. And I think the ball ends up coming off his shoulder. Better contact from Maupay there, and it could have been 1-1.
He'll go down as a chance for Brighton, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Lamptey showing what he can do in the attacking third as well. Ruben Loftus-Cheek just temporarily off the field here. Changing his socks by the look of it.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it's not something you see every day.
No, absolutely not. I think that during these commentaries that we've been doing for a little while now, Harry, we talk about game state all the time and how a goal changes the complexion of the match, and that's what we're seeing a little bit now. Chelsea go 1-0 up, and suddenly Brighton have to go in the ascendancy more to try and get back into it. And as you say, the more players that Brighton commit forward in the attacking phase, they leave space in behind, and that space is where Timo Werner will constantly look to attack and transition.
Just seeing, I think was it Bissouma? Or is it Lamptey who's been caught?
I think that's Lamptey.
Appears to be in some discomfort, the young right back. Just seeing a replay of the mistake that led to the penalty. It was Alzate, blind pass. I think he played it to Jorginho. We thought it was Mason Mount at the time, but it was Jorginho who found Timo Werner And just the sharpness from Werner, just to get there and put a foot in. He knew exactly what he was doing. The minute he
Yeah,
knocked it past the goalkeeper,
no
he was
doubt.
going to get his team a penalty. And Jorginho dispatched it with such confidence.
That was really poor from Alzate, a player who is technically quite good in the midfield, but again, you have to scan the pitch. It's something we tell young players in a development phase. They have to be aware of what's around them, and he quite simply wasn't. If he was, I think he was trying to connect the pass to a player who was 5 yards away from where the ball ended up. So that is extremely poor and a soft goal for Brighton to give away.
Indeed it was. And they've got it all to do now. They trail Frank Lampard's Chelsea by a goal to nil. We're approaching the half-hour mark. Don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button. Same goes if you're watching us on Facebook. If you're watching via Twitter, give us a retweet. And if you are using the Hot Mic app, you can synchronize our broadcast with your television pictures. That way you can ensure that everything is in time, of course. We've got a little clock as well for you this time. I know a lot of you have been asking for it, so that you can check the time and try and sync it up manually if you're not using that service. Graham Potter watches on, ponders over how his side can get back into this game. In truth, they played pretty well up to the goal. It feels like they have gifted Chelsea with the advantage, and that'll be frustrating for the coach, won't it?
Absolutely. You never want to come into a game like this as a coach and have your team do something so silly in the opening half an hour to give the first goal away. They have been good. Like I say, they're neat, they're tidy, they're well organised, they're tactically interesting. I think that Graham Potter's a very interesting coach. He's had a really intriguing career pathway to get to where he is now. And he's someone who isn't afraid to think outside the box, both from a tactical and a squad building point of view. So kind of the perfect fit for a club like Brighton at this stage of their development as well.
Just seeing a little incident that occurred between Zuma and Neil Mopay. Looks as though Zuma just accidentally, it has to be said, just stepped on the Achilles heel of Neil Mopay, who's gone down. He looks to be in some pain.
Do you think that was accidental?
I don't know. Seeing what Neil
I'm not
Mopay done
sure.
to
It
Bernd
might be
Leno,
accidentally stand on somebody's Achilles.
yeah, I suppose. Remembering
And
what
Neil Mopai is known to have a bit of a moan about things anyway, so I'm sure if he gets back
exactly,
up, Kirk's team will hear about that for the rest of the match.
exactly, and having seen what he did to Bernd Leno when they met Arsenal in Project Restart, I can't say I feel too sorry for him at the moment.
Was he the player as well that had a dig at Matteo Guendouzi?
He was, yeah,
He
he
was.
was.
I think Guendouzi was shooting his mouth when he shouldn't have been, or something along those lines.
Yeah, he decided to mock him about his salary, even though actually Neil Mopai earns more than Matteo Guendouzi, which I'm not sure he knew at the time when he decided to mouth off. But you've seen the consequences for Matteo Guendouzi. He's not played for the Arsenal since.
It looks like he'll be fine to continue, just limping off the pitch now. He'll take a minute to compose himself and to get rid of the pain, the Achilles, and he'll be back on. Important for Brighton that he is as well, because he is still the main goal threat.
For sure. So, Lamptey is back up as well after he was struggling with an injury just a few moments ago. Here's Ben White. Shifts the ball out of his feet, looks for a long ball forward, which Trossard would chase, but Zuma comes across, deals with it, puts it out for a Brighton throwing down on this near side. Daryl Kane, knowing Zuma's balance. That's all he said, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, you might be right.
Here's Lamptey into Lallana. Lovely work from Lamptey, just skips past Alonso. He's caught by Jorginho there. I think he wanted a free kick. He's not going to get one, but he's got his team a corner, I think. Lovely nutmeg past Marcus Alonso. He tried his best to bring him down anyway. Jorginho came across. I think he may have nicked the ball there, Jorginho.
Yeah, it looked like a ball first. Great move though from Lamptey. He's so great to watch when he's in this kind of form. He's so willing to take people on whenever he gets possession.
Made sure, Jorginho, that he let Lamptey know that he got the ball as well.
He did, yeah.
Brighton with a corner here. 32 minutes played. Bit of wrestling in the penalty area. Solly march towards the far post. Kepa's come. Kepa's missed it, but fortunately for him, there's nobody in a Brighton shirt to turn it in.
And that's why Chelsea fans are so unsold, if you like, on Kepa as a goalkeeper. You can see there, yes, he's coming into traffic, but the ball's not even travelling fast in that trajectory. It's so easy for him to come out and claim. Instead, he goes for a one-handed punch and completely misses the ball.
The Chelsea goal kick. They've got away with it. Kepa will take it. Goes long in the end, despite his two central defenders dropping either side of him. Here's Alonso. Loftus-Cheek. Bit of a loose touch. Pass to him wasn't great, though, in truth. Dunk just guides it back to Matt Ryan in the Brighton goal. Here's Ben White, who's created an angle on the right-hand side. Rajiv in the comments. Sorry, Lee. Rajiv in the comments says, just wait for a Kepa mistake for Brighton to level. There you go. Shows you what people think of the
Well, it was
Spaniard.
close. I think it must be a genuine tactical ploy tonight for Ben White to be looking for these long passes so consistently. It must be something that the coach has told him to do. They're looking for a pass to turn the Chelsea defence quickly and bypassing the midfield. Normally, you'd expect the same progressing the ball more cleanly through more shorter passes into the midfield, if you like.
Yeah, that's right. Here is Bissouma. Dunk. Lampty. Just based on the first half an hour or so, you can't imagine he'll be at Brighton for too long. Young Tariq Lampty. Wonderful shot from Alzate. Good save from Kepa. It's come to Solly March. He strikes towards goal, appeals for a handball. He's not going to get it.
I think go back to Tariq Lampty quickly. There were a lot of people at Chelsea who believed that they'd kept the wrong right back, and Reece James is a right back at Chelsea who's so highly rated and was so fantastic in his loan spell at Wigan that people thought he would go on to great things. But when Tariq Lamptey started to break through, there were genuine thoughts amongst the Chelsea fan base that Tariq Lamptey was the better player as a long-term prospect. But he ran his contract down and left the club in a freedom contract at Brighton.
He certainly looks the better of the two based on what we've seen so far, particularly in an attacking sense. Just seen a replay of Steven Alzate's effort. Forced a good save from Kepa.
Kepa is a good shot stopper. It's his decision making, whether the ball's on the ground or in the air, that's the problem. But in terms of shot stopping, he is generally relatively good.
Delivery towards the edge of the box where Bissouma will look to volley it back in. Surprised they went for Bissouma as the man to try and pull a worldie out of the bag. Yeah, exactly. Here he is again into Lamptey. Looks to just hold off N'Golo Kante, but Kante does well. Good header again from Kante. Brighton have it though, and Brighton are coming forward again. Here's Lallana, plays Neil Mopai in. Just got crowded out in the end by the Chelsea defenders. He's still fighting away on the edge of the box though, Neil Mopai. Chelsea get away with that. They lost the ball in a dangerous area. Brighton threatening. But they've got to take one of these opportunities.
Yeah, it's just the threat of transitions from Brighton. They broke well. Lallana with a great way to pass into Maupai. The first touch was slightly heavy from the French striker, and from that point on, he was constantly battling to try and get the ball back. If it had been a bit cleaner, then he could have had a chance to get a shot on goal.
For sure. Just signs, though. Graham Potter's side are not going to take this line down. Neil Mopai having a moan, just as predicted.
You can see there that the touch has to be in front of him. He has to have a bit of softer foot, if you like, to let the ball run a little bit and not cut it back inside quite so hard. And then he would have the opportunity for a right-footed shot at goal. Instead, he just allowed the Chelsea defender to get back.
Here is Lallana again into Bissouma. Good work from Timo Werner from a defensive point of view. Alonso will carry the ball out for Chelsea. He's brought down by Bissouma, who's no stranger to a foul.
He's not.
Graham Potter will be encouraged by what he's seen from the last 10 minutes or so from his side, though, won't he, Lee?
Definitely. And Brighton are a team who aren't going to be a pushover for any side in the Premier League this season. They always have the ability to create something. It's just, as we said, it's that taking of the chances that's going to be the issue for them going forward in this league, I think. But they are a very good team, very well built, very well developed, very well balanced. There's a lot to like about them. And Chelsea certainly haven't been having it all their own way for the last 10 minutes. We haven't really seen much of Chelsea in attacking sense. We see more Brighton pushing them back and trying to make something happen. But again, this is game state. Chelsea are resting at the moment and expecting to come again.
Here is Kai Havertz, just skips past Bissouma. Reece James delivers into the box. The cross deflected slightly and Matt Ryan will gather it. Thinks about releasing it early, hesitates. The opportunity's passed now.
It's interesting because out of the two teams, it's Brighton who have by far the best goalkeeper at the moment. But in terms of the statistics, the underlying numbers, Matt Ryan has been one of the best performers in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons, and Kepa is certainly not at that level. It's interesting to see a side like Chelsea who haven't invested. Obviously, the investment in Kepa in the first instance was huge, but you'd think that if they're looking to get to the next level, they have to almost cut their losses and move on to another player soon.
They are being linked with the goalkeeper, Chelsea.
Yeah, the Rennes goalkeeper, Mendy.
That's right.
Edward Mendy.
Not sure if that's going to materialise or not, but it appears that Chelsea are considering it. Here's Webster. Now Solly March. Forced back by Kai Havertz into Matt Ryan. Plays it long. Trossard will get underneath it. But Brighton, when they play these long balls, they really lack the physical presence, don't they, up top to make the ball stick, to hold it up, to bring others into the game. It's a real problem.
Yeah, they don't have a player of that profile, the ability. You're looking for a player who has 1 or 2 profiles as a 9. You want somebody who can come towards the ball, receive and bring others into play. You want somebody who's able to run off the shoulder of the last defender. The issue that I have with Maupai is that you're never quite sure which profile he has. He has the aggressiveness that he's willing to take the ball to feet, but he doesn't quite have the top level pace to then spin in behind, and his link up play isn't always the best. You almost feel as though you'd be better off playing as one of a 2 with more of a reference striker of some kind. But that's perhaps something that Brighton can look to do in the transfer market. But they haven't been that active this summer in the transfer window, and I'm sure that's more to do with the post-COVID state of football more than anything else.
Agreed. Here is Lamptey. He's going to take the throw in for Brighton. This, of course, our second game of the weekend, of this round of fixtures, I should say. We covered Fulham 0, Arsenal 3 on Saturday. And if you wanted to go back and listen to the live analysis of that, you can do so on YouTube or on Facebook. You can go back and go through the whole broadcast there, should you wish to. Brighton just being forced into an error there by Chelsea's high press. 41 minutes on the clock. Here's Jorginho infield. Slightly loose pass there. Kai Havertz slid in with a challenge. Was a foul, but I think Brighton were thinking about playing on and just hesitated there. Here's Ben White into Lamptey. Looks for the pass around the corner. Fortunately for him, it deflects into Bissouma's path. He'll, with a lovely driven pass, actually, out to Solly March on the left-hand side. Kai Havertz working back, but he didn't make a great deal of effort to stop March there, who got past him and then saw his cross blocked. March has got it back now. This time Reece James will go over to deal with him. His ball inside, looking for Alzate, was intercepted as Chelsea look to build a counter-attack. Here's Timo Werner, now Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Timo Werner busting a gut to get up alongside him. You can see an intelligent run from Werner, but Loftus-Cheek was unable to find him. But that's what Werner gives you, that burst of pace, that acceleration, and that willingness to run into space.
It does, and that's a long run though from Werner for nothing. You can see there he's the one who pokes the ball onto Loftus-Cheek, and then the acceleration, the willingness to move. He just wants that ball. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was almost lackadaisical with the way that he tried to shift the ball there. No real effort, if you like, in terms of making that pass and connecting the next pass. Just go back a little bit though, it's interesting that we're now seeing Brighton start to build a little bit more on the left-hand side. So far it's been purely down the right that they're looking to access Lampty whenever possible. But now the last two attacks they have looked to use Solly Marsh down the left-hand side. That their wing-backs are keys in their attacking game because they're the players that can provide width and tend to be free to receive the ball before they look to connect centrally.
Is that Reece James for Chelsea? Fast approaching half-time here at the Amex Stadium. Down in Brighton by the seaside. Referee just blows up here. Alzate. Oh, it's Adam Lallana who's gone down.
It's not a good sign.
Someone who's broken down regularly. Adam Lallana over the last few years. Be a real shame if this is something that sees him have to be withdrawn.
There was nothing in that. You just see something's obviously gone. Something's gone in one of his muscles, it looks like.
Connolly getting ready. Just in case. Not sure about that haircut, but... Just having a look at some of your live comments. Tyrone says, Solly March is a well-decent player. Rydog says, Chelsea don't look like title challengers to me.
I think, to be fair, that's purely because that they're trying to bed in all these new players. It's interesting. We've seen a change to the tactical system for Lampard as well as new players coming in. I think it'll just take a little bit of time before they're up to speed, if you like. But that is certainly something that is enough to derail a title challenge in itself.
Lallana is going to make way. Sad to see. Brighton fans will be hoping it's not something serious. Aaron Connolly will come on.
Such a talented player, Adam Lallana. His time at Southampton in particular, he was fantastic for a good 2 years there, even when he moved to Liverpool initially. But injuries have just taken their toll.
They have indeed, and having, I guess, taken a bit of a gamble, because there's no doubt he would have been on a pretty decent salary by Brighton standards. They'll be disappointed that he's broken down just 45 minutes into the season. Hopefully it's not something that will keep him out for the long term. Here is Matt Ryan in goal. Webster into Bissouma. Trossard just dropping a little bit deeper. Lovely driven pass out to that far side. Solly March will take it under control. One-on-one with Kai Havertz into Alzate. Bissouma into Lampty. Lovely left-footed ball in towards the back post, but can Chelsea bring it away? Kai Havertz doing his bit at the back for Chelsea.
I think now we're going to see Aaron Connolly go up to play in the same line as Neil Maupay, and Trossard will drop into that deeper role that player's just gone out of my head. Who just came off?
Lallana,
that Adam Lallana had. So you'll see Connolly and Maupay. Unfortunately, they're both players with very similar profiles. It's going to be difficult now for Brighton to really affect anything with two players that are essentially looking to occupy the same spaces, playing in the front line together.
Chelsea coming forward now. Here's Timo Werner on the left-hand side for Frank Lampard's men. Just goes past Webster. Left-footed Tries to sneak one into that near post. Almost caught Matt Ryan out there, the German.
That's something we've seen him do time and time again for Leipzig. He's got that ability to drift past people, and then just as the goalkeeper starts to edge looking for the cross to come in, Werner's got that ability to try and squeeze the ball into the front post.
That
Good
sharp
strong
turn of
hand.
pace.
Yeah. He's looking sharp. Out of all the Chelsea players, he's looking the best at the moment.
Agreed. Here is Reece James to take the corner, delivered right-footed, met by the head of Alzate, I think it was. It falls to Mason Mount. It's come back into the Brighton penalty area. Reece James cuts it back across goal, dealt with by Webster on the edge of his own 6-yard box. Marcus Alonso with a throw-in for Chelsea. Into the 3rd minute of stoppage time now. 4 added at the end of this first half. Werner stretching there to control that. I think there was a handball given there.
Did handle it, did he?
I didn't think he did at first glance, but...
Looked like he stretched for the ball, but I didn't see a handball. Potentially there was.
Who knows? What matters is that Brighton got a free kick. Here is Matt Ryan. Now Ben White into Lampty. Lovely ball in behind for Trossard to chase. But again, Zuma alert. Using that pace of his to get him out of trouble, Kurt Zuma. And that's what he has over some of these other Chelsea centre-backs. I know he does get caught out sometimes. He's not the best player positionally, but he does have that recovery pace, doesn't he, Kurt Zuma? And it often gets him out of trouble.
His physical profile is excellent for a central defender. Good size, good height, good in the air, good turn of pace when defending back towards his own goal. It's just the lapses of concentration more than anything else, and maybe a little bit of lack of positional awareness that have let him down over the years at Chelsea.
Agreed. It's half-time at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Chelsea 1. Jorginho's penalty, the difference so far. Brighton showed signs that they could potentially find their way back into this game, but of course losing Adam Lallana will come as a huge blow to Graham Potter's side. I'm going to take this opportunity to let you know about our sponsors, footballicons.com. Just going to share the screen with those of you watching us live at the moment so you guys can see what Football Icons is all about. Head over to footballiconswithaz.com. Check out the website and you can download posters of some of your favorite football icons, hence the name. Lots of different ones here. Jurgen Klopp, Pele, even Nuno Espirito Santo. If you're of a Wolves persuasion, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You can order these in canvas form and in poster form as well. And I'm being told that there are going to be plenty more added to the collection. Sir Alex Ferguson, Sergio Ramos, Diego Simeone. So these are really, really fantastic. Head over to footballicons.com. They are our proud sponsors of these broadcasts for the coming season. So we look forward to seeing what new ones they bring out between now and the end of the campaign. Lee, just going to get your thoughts on some of the Premier League action over the weekend during half-time. Let's start by talking about the game between the champions Liverpool and Leeds United. I know a lot of people thought that Marcelo Bielsa's side were going to come up, make an impact, give it a real go, but I don't think anybody envisaged a performance like that at Anfield.
No, nobody did. Well, it was interesting. I was doing a little bit of work on that game earlier on today, and actually they outpassed Liverpool. They had more passes than Liverpool did at Anfield, and that's something that not a lot of teams do to this Jurgen Klopp side. What was really interesting was that from a defensive point of view, Leeds have come up in the Premier League, and they're sticking with this principle they have of man-orientated marking. They absolutely devote themselves to man marking to the point where at one point, as we know, Robert Firmino drops off the front line into the 10 position. He does it all the time. Whenever he did that, the ball side central defender for Leeds would literally follow him. He would go with him into the midfield. At one point, Firmino carried on his run into his own half, and Robin Koch carried on following him all the way to the own half. That was a central defender who was in the Liverpool half following a Liverpool striker. And normally in those situations, what you would find is that Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah would attack diagonally to take advantage of that space that's been created. That's part of the reason that Firmino makes those runs. But Leeds were so good at following them into those areas, the left back and right back, would just shadow Mane and Salah inside. And they really denied them having space. Yes, there were issues with Leeds. The central defensive partnership was new. Koch had trained, I think, once or twice for the team. Strike is a defender who nobody really thought would be making an impact at that kind of level this season. So there are definitely problems, but Leeds came out and they played with such abandon. And in attack, they were constantly moving forward. They were getting bodies into the box. They were looking for vertical passes all the time. It was just the fact that they played a team who had a player in Mohamed Salah who was inspired for parts of that match. I think Mohamed Salah really made a difference with that finish for his goal in open play when he took a touch and the ball was cleared by Strike, I think, into the penalty area, and Salah just took a touch and then found the top corner from a crowded penalty area. Little things like that are what make the difference at the top level, and that's what Leeds perhaps didn't come up against last season, but they will this season.
What's got to be the aim for Leeds United? I know it is. I mean, obviously avoiding relegation is first and foremost their main priority. But I guess let me rephrase the question: how far up the table do you think Leeds can be aiming at this moment in time? I know it's early days; it's only one game, but they would have taken immense confidence from a performance like that at Liverpool.
Yeah, they absolutely have. I think you're right. 17th place is always the barrier. That's you want that above anything else because you want to stay in the league for another season to continue to build. I think that this Leeds side under Marcelo Bielsa are a top half team. I think that if you take Marcelo Bielsa out of the equation, that becomes a very different picture. You've got to remember that Bielsa came in initially and he didn't change the side. He took a player in Calvin Phillips and made him into a six who's now an England international. Calvin Phillips was relatively highly rated, but he wasn't playing well under any stretch of the imagination before Bielsa came in. Patrick Bamford as well. Bielsa's always had faith in him. Patrick Bamford takes one of his chances the weekend and scores. Players like Luke Ayling and players like that who came in at right back and were so dogged and so strong defensively, refused to give Sadio Mane any space at the weekend. All of these players are players who you could argue perhaps aren't quite at that top level, top six Premier League level. But with Marcelo Bielsa in charge, there's a very strong chance that that's where they'll end up.
Brilliant stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Liverpool just briefly. I mean, they looked a little bit, well, not a little bit, they looked very out of sorts, to be honest. There's been suggestions that it was complacency. Do you think that was the case? Or is this just the team suffering at the beginning of the season? It's been a weird pre season. Are people maybe looking into it too deeply?
I think what we saw was the fact that Liverpool really missed Fabinho. Um, Played as a six, Fabinho is always the reference player. He's been called the lighthouse of that team by the coaching staff because no matter what's happening around him, Fabinho is always the calm presence in the centre who kind of makes things happen and dictates what's happening around him. Without Fabinho, we then saw Jordan Henderson played as a six, which is going back to bygone years when Klopp first came in and when Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool before that, Henderson played as the six. Henderson is a chaotic player who thrives in aggressive pressing. When you play him as a six, he's got a tendency to get lost because he wants to go forward and he gets caught very much out of position of over and over again. I think that was the big issue with the Liverpool balance of the system. What Leeds also did very intelligently was that they overloaded their attack when they were attacking an attacking phase. They deliberately overloaded the side of the pitch with Alexander Arnold. So quite often you'd have Pablo Hernandez and Matthew Clich, the two central midfielders for Leeds, were both over on that side of the pitch making vertical runs. And that really made Alexander Arnold have to sit deeper than he's used to. He couldn't get into the advanced positions and possession that he wanted to because Leeds were so quick in transition to try to overload that side. So you had a team in Liverpool who didn't have their main ball progressor playing the way he could in Alexander Arnold, and they were missing one of their key players centrally in Fabinho. I think that was the big difference. I didn't see anything from Liverpool that makes me worry about them. I don't think
Yeah.
the defensive problems are anywhere near as bad as some people are making out. They just came against a side who were absolutely willing to send 5 or 6 men forward every time they got possession. And that becomes something that can be more and more difficult to defend against.
Absolutely. The other result I want to just touch on, because we obviously covered the Arsenal game, I want to just touch on Spurs against Everton. Now, you know, there were some positive signs from Everton. Obviously, they brought in a number of new players. They're going to need some time to gel. But there were signs that Alan in the middle of the park and Decore, James Rodriguez, that they're going to really add something to this Everton team. But from a Spurs perspective, it was a very concerning performance, wasn't it? And are we, I mean, is Jose Mourinho, in your opinion, Lee, still capable of operating at the very, very top level? Because I have this debate with people all the time.
I think I'm slow to fully criticise Jose Mourinho. I think that given what he has achieved in his career as a coach, it's very difficult to say, absolutely, you can no longer achieve at this level. I think that in the English game specifically, I don't think he is at a level where he is now a top 6 coach. I think if he was to move back to Italy, where some of those mental mind games, if you like, that he tends to play with players in opposition would still maybe work. I'm sure that Inter Milan, if Antonio Conte wasn't there, Inter Milan would have him back in a heartbeat. But I think that the issues at Spurs seem to go deeper. That there's almost a sense everything seems unbalanced. They signed Pierre-Emile Højbjerg from Southampton, who's a fantastic midfielder, but then they put him in this role in a double pivot, and he didn't seem to know what was expected of him against Everton. He just looked lost in the middle of the park. They signed a player in Matt Doherty to play as their right back. Matt Doherty was one of the best right wing backs in English football over the last 2 years at Wolves, but playing wing back and playing right back, your role is very, very different. And against Everton, Richarlison had huge impact on that side. Really ran Doherty ragged throughout the game. I think that you're right to touch upon the fact, going back to Everton for a second, that it looks promising. James in the centre of the pitch, his ability to create things for other people is already evident, and that should just continue to grow as he gets more ingrained in that team. And for players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has that almost unique skill set that he's so powerful in the air, but also quick and also has good movement, I think he's a striker who will really take advantage of that this season.
Agreed. Positive signs for Carlo Ancelotti's side, not so positive for Jose Mourinho's Tottenham. We're approaching the second half at the Amex Stadium. Of course, it's Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Jorginho's goal from the penalty spot, the difference so far. What have Brighton got to do in this second half, Lee, to get back into this game? Because we touched upon it, the loss of Adam Lallana will come as a significant blow to them. What's the way to hurt this Chelsea side, in your opinion?
I think the first thing you've got to do is that you have to get them out of their element. You have to get that Chelsea defensive line pushed up a little bit more so you can access space in behind it. You've now got 2 strikers in Neil Maupay and Aaron Connolly, who, as I touched upon in the first half, they've got very similar profiles. They like to occupy the same spaces. They like to do the same things. What they can do is they can make those short, sharp movements that will get separation from the defenders, and that's where they'll start to get joy. But while Chelsea are defending on their penalty on the line of their 18-yard box the way that they have tended to be with Zuma and Christensen, you're seeing the Brighton strikers struggle to really get anything there. The other option is to keep accessing the wide areas where we've already seen the wing backs for Brighton have been positive in possession. They've got forward. Lampty especially has looked extremely bright. I think you've got to find ways to either get that access down the right hand side, get Lamptey higher up if you like, so he can really engage Marcus Alonso and try and beat him 1-on-1 to then access the penalty area from the sides, or you have to pull the Chelsea defence towards you to then hit the space in behind it. But neither of those things will be easy because Chelsea will be aware that those are the ways that Brighton can hurt them. And I think that we were also seeing this change of systems from Frank Lampard with the double pivot in midfield. Jorginho and Kante in front of the defence. They're very tactically astute, they're very intelligent players, and they're not players who will get caught out of position easily. So I think that Brighton have got their work cut out to try and get back into this game. And the whole time that Brighton are trying to do this, they have to keep in the back of their mind that they cannot leave space for Timo Werner to attack and transition.
Agreed. Let's go over to some of the live comments in the chat at Kev O'Sullivan. Full of praise for Lamptey, who's had a good game against Alonso. He says, I think, yeah, that's absolutely right. I think Cornell, Chelsea man, says Loftus not helping us. So lots of different opinions in the live chat about this one. Lee, I mean, we spoke a lot sort of as the game kicked off about sort of the brilliance of Kai Havertz, Timo Werner. Those two were very much the players whom the spotlight was on going into this one. We've been praising Werner throughout. Have you been a little bit disappointed though by what you've seen from Kai Havertz?
I don't think he's had opportunities to really show what he can do. There's been clever pieces of movement. He's dragged players out of position and created space for others through his movement. But so far, we haven't seen him really able to affect the game the way that we know that he can. Kai Havertz is a player who is better in central positions because he has two unique parts to his skill set. He's able to come deep to receive the ball with his back to goal, and then he can link in with others or he can spin. The other thing he's got that surprises people and surprises people when they see him play for the first time is he has a real turn of pace. He's got the ability to make those similar runs to Timo Werner. He's not perhaps as quick as Werner, but he can create separation from defenders that way. What we've seen is that he's played out this right hand side and he's not playing as an orthodox winger. He's almost tried to occupy the half spaces more, but Chelsea at the moment are struggling to find ways to really bring him into the game. I think that's down to the fact that Reece James at right back would be expected to push up higher to occupy the wide space, and that would then open spaces for Kai Havertz, but it just doesn't seem to be working properly, and that could just be the new system bedding in a little bit. I certainly would be worried about as a Chelsea fan. I know that Kai Havertz has the quality to make a huge impact at the Premier League level.
At this stage of the season, is it more about just getting the result, getting over the line, as opposed to the the performance? You know, we
Yeah.
accept that it's very early on and that things aren't necessarily going to be how how they hope to be throughout the course of the season. So it is about getting the win, getting over the line, particularly if you've got aspirations like Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. They need the 3 points from the opening game. I think that everything at the moment is about sports science, getting minutes into players' legs, getting them up to match sharpness. It'll take a good 3 or 4 weeks before we really see players start to achieve those levels, I think.
Second half is underway at the Amex. We're about 35 seconds in. Don't forget, if you're watching us via Hot Mic, you can synchronize the broadcast with your television set. That way, everything will be in time. Otherwise, you can use the clock on your screens to manually do it yourselves. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button. If you're on Twitter, give us a retweet. Here come Brighton. Lovely run from Solly March. Good ball into the near post. Connolly was there, but starting outside of the post, the way he did it was always going to be difficult, wasn't it, to turn that in. But Solly March has just marched through that Chelsea defence far too easily.
He has. The name lends itself there to your pun a little bit, I think. But we just talked about the fact that the wing backs had to find ways to get round the outside in order to create something, and we saw Solly March doing that there. Yes, Aaron Connolly's position wasn't great. You need him to be more central. You need him to be receiving that ball in front of goal, but he's able to make something happen instead of trying to squeeze the ball at near post.
Here is Loftus-Cheek. It's with Matt Ryan in the Chelsea goal now. Here's Solly March into Connolly. Always lively when I've seen him, Connolly.
Yeah, he is. He's a real handful for defenders. He likes to buzz around, presses really well, and likes to make those runs from inside to outside to try and receive the ball like that. But the issue again is it's just that ability to then translate that run and that receiving of the ball into a dangerous ball in the penalty area.
Here is Alzate. Lovely ball into Connolly. Shot blocked by Christensen. Here's Lamptey. Good start to the second half from Brighton. They've started it with real intent.
Massively. It's been good. It's obviously they've been told they're still in this game and they believe that. They're trying to make something happen. If they can get a goal back, then suddenly the game opens up back up again.
Here is a dunk for Brighton. Lots of comments about our clock tonight in the chat.
I know somebody that'd be taking full credit for that clock.
Oh, absolutely. I think he already has. I got a notification. I'm scrambling to see if I can find it, but we'll have a look later on as Lamptey dances past the Chelsea defenders, gets into the box, fires towards goal and wins Brighton a corner. Really lively play from Tariq Lamptey again. Kurt Zuma's been caught where it hurts by the looks of it. But look at
And
this
that,
run.
yeah, that's exactly what we've been talking about. Tariq Lampty has to get on the ball in areas where he can really engage and attack the defensive line, and we saw it there. He goes inside Marcus Alonso. Alonso's slow to turn. Jorginho can't get back. And I think that Kurt Zuma took a sore one blocking that shot from Lamptey.
Did really, really well there, the young fullback. Just that burst of acceleration was excellent.
Yeah. And it's a low centre of gravity. You can see that Zuma's still down. I'm sure that every man who's watching those pictures will know exactly the pain that Zuma's feeling at the moment. He's blocked the ball with his lower stomach, to put it politely. I think that Lamptey, from a tactical point of view, gives you so many different options because he's a wing back who suddenly transitions into becoming a winger when he gets possession because he's so willing to attack people. He's so willing to take people on in one-on-one situations. It's a huge benefit to Brighton.
Here comes a corner kick, which is going to be taken by Solly March. March again. Here's Alzate. Of course, his error led to Chelsea winning that penalty. He's picked up his game, I would say, since then, though.
Yeah, he had a good shot in the first half, tried to find the corner of the net, but that mistake will have gone down as being unforgivable. I'm sure that Graham Potter let him know in the changing room at half time that wouldn't be tolerated on the pitch in the second half, that's for sure.
Here come Brighton again. Kante working back, doing really, really well. But we talked about it a lot, Lee, haven't we, during these commentaries? I guess the way that these coaches are asking people to play nowadays, there comes an associated risk, doesn't there, always?
Yeah. I think coaches, if they want players to play at the back the way they do and the way that they're told to, even under intense pressure, coaches have to be willing to take responsibility if mistakes are made. We see that from Pep Guardiola. He's always been very, very strong on that point that if a player makes a mistake playing out from the back, that's his fault because he's made the player, he's told the player take that risk. And the same thing can be said from Arsenal under Arteta. He's intent on them playing the same way. I think a lot of teams in the Premier League now are taking on those concepts in terms of playing out from the back and progressing the ball cleanly through the thirds.
6 minutes into the second period at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton 0, Chelsea 1. Looking for Lamptey in behind again. And somehow he's managed to nick in there on Alonso. He's given Alonso a torrid time so far this evening, hasn't
he? Yes.
Alonso will go to bed having nightmares about Tariq Lamptey tonight. I think he's been excellent.
Don't forget, this is a player that Chelsea had on their books just a matter of months ago, and now he's lining up for Brighton in a match against them and playing so well. I'm sure there are people within the Chelsea hierarchy who are kicking themselves for this.
I'm sure there will be. Just quickly run you through the teams again at the start of this second half for Chelsea. It's Kepa in goals, a back four of Alonso, Zuma, Christensen, James. In the midfield, it's Jorginho, Kante, Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, and then Timo Werner. For Brighton, it's Matt Ryan in goal, Ben White, Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, Tariq Lamptey, Yves Bissouma, Steven Alzate, Solly March. Of course, Adam Lallana did go off injured. He's been replaced by Connolly. And then it's Leandro Trossard and Neil Maupay making up the rest of the 11.
Just saw Kai Havertz cutting across the pitch there, then looking to play a pass to the far side and completely miss hitting it for a Brighton throw-in. That's perhaps not what Frank Lampard wants to see from the German international today.
Absolutely. Frank Lampard will want to see his team pick it up again, though, won't he? Because since the goal, they very you thought that maybe it would kind of give Chelsea that little bit of a lift and you'd see them go on and really take control of this game. But that hasn't been the case. It's been a bit of a sort of lackadaisical performance from Frank Lampard's side at times.
Yeah, at this point, it has to be good enough. There are excuses you can make and arguments you can make for players not being match fit, but still, they've kind of lacked attack and intent over the last 10, 15 minutes of the second half, the first half, and 10 minutes of the second half. It just hasn't been there as much, and Chelsea need to find a way to impose themselves in this game again, just to stop Brighton from getting into their stride the way they have been. At the moment, it looks if another side's going to score, it looks very much like that will be Brighton.
Here is Mope. Bissouma. Creates some space. Took about 3 or 4 Chelsea defenders out of the game there. Here's Lamptey inside the Chelsea box again. Struck from distance. Oh, and it's gone into the far corner. Brighton are back on level terms. It's a wonderful strike. And Brighton are back level with Chelsea. And it's Leandro Trossard with a goal. Wonderful strike. Left-footed. Kepa with no chance whatsoever.
You're right. The key to that goal was that play from Bissouma when he's able to receive the ball at the edge of the penalty area. He holds players off. He makes players lose their balance, and then he just shifts the ball quickly out to the far side with Tariq Lampty. Lampty makes the Chelsea players think he's going to attack them on the outside, pulls the ball back slightly to Trossard, and that's a great strike with the left foot across the face of goal into that far corner, right into the corner of the goal. A difficult shot there for Kepa to get across to. Trossard came to English football with a reputation for goal scoring in the Belgian league, and we didn't see it much last season. But there's a great example.
Brilliant stuff from Leandro Trossard. Then it was one of those awkward ones for the goalkeeper, just where the ball bounced, made it difficult for Kepa to judge it, I guess. Not that it was something he was going to save anyway, but
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff from Leandro Trossard. Really, really good. And Brighton are back on level terms. And you've got to say, it is nothing more than they deserve.
Yeah, we literally just said if another team was going to score, it looked like it was going to be Brighton, and then that attack started. I think that there was no doubt, but this is now going to force Chelsea to come out of the shell that they've retreated into. So, in terms of the game itself, I think this is the best thing that could have happened.
Chelsea coming forward themselves. Now, Reece James! Oh, my word, that is a screamer from Reece James. He's completely caught Brighton off guard there. It's a shot from long range, and the right back has put Chelsea right back in front.
That is outstanding from Reece James. He's obviously taken our comments about Tariq Lampty being the better right back to heart. And he picks the ball up here in the central area. You don't think he's going to take a shot. He's not renowned for his goal scoring. But he just touches the ball out with his feet, and that is a great strike in the top corner. Nothing Matt Ryan could do. But from game state changing to 1-1, we're now back to 2-1 again. Let's just hope that goal from Brighton has given Chelsea enough of a shock that they're not going to retreat back again. They're going to go forward on the front foot.
I'm not sure Reece James will score a better goal than that in his entire career. It's a great touch, and the strike is incredible. It couldn't have been further into the top corner. You could have had 3 goalkeepers in between the sticks there, and they wouldn't have stopped it. Graham Potter must feel sick to the stomach. The battle of the right backs commences here at the Amex Stadium.
And given the fact that I also have Reece James in my fantasy football team, I really enjoyed that strike.
Perhaps you're going to get ahead of me in the points total. We'll see. Can't believe we're not in the same league somewhere. What's going on?
I know. But hopefully now Chelsea aren't going to retreat back. We need to see them continue on the front foot and not allowing Brighton to come back into this game again. Sucker punch for Brighton, though, having just equalised. You can see a goal like that. Mistakes you can't legislate for. There's nothing. The first goal was completely preventable for Brighton, but that goal is just about quality. There's nothing that any Brighton player could have done to stop that.
Reece James with an absolute worldie to put Chelsea back in front. Just seconds after Brighton had levelled things. Will Brighton find another reply? Here's Bissouma playing it forward. Couple of players down at the moment. Mason Mount gets straight back up, as does Bissouma when he realises that he's got the decision he wants.
Basuma's been good tonight. A lot of good touches on the ball, receives the ball really well, really good manipulating space. And he was the one that obviously created the space for that Brighton goal.
Just a couple of minutes apart, the two goals, according to the official times. Here is Alzate out to the right-hand side where Tariq Lampty pick up possession. Here's Trossard. Just lovely ball towards the far post. That is a bad miss. A bad miss from Lewis Dunk. It's a glaring opportunity that's gone begging for Brighton. Wow, what a chance.
That's a huge chance. He just makes a little movement. You can see there he moves back into space and attacks the back post as the cross comes in. And for a player who's so good in the air, you really expect better there from Lewis Dunk. But that cross again was created by the run of Lamptey once more. He gets the ball on the right hand side and he lays the ball off and then made an absolute sprint to get behind the defensive line. It forced the Chelsea defensive line back to compensate for that, and the space is then there for the cross to come in.
We were talking about how brilliant Reece James was in the opposition's half just a couple of moments ago, but his defending left a lot to be desired there because
certainly did.
Dunk with some pretty basic movement actually pulled completely free of him.
Yeah. All that Dunk did was move back a couple of steps, then turn his run round towards the back post. Not something difficult to do, and you expect your right back to be able to cover that run, especially from a centre back.
Chelsea, pretty much everyone behind the ball at the moment. Bissouma, not sure who that was in search of, but Kai Havertz will just let it run out for a Chelsea goal kick. They can take a quick breather.
Is it Ross Barkley's going to come on? Whether that's going to be Loftus-Cheek or even potentially Havertz remains to be seen.
Havertz has looked a little off the boil, hasn't he? But as has Loftus-Cheek, to be fair, I don't think he's been particularly effective either.
Done anything. He hasn't been anywhere near as strong and as good as we've seen from him previously. But again, it's difficult for players coming back from injuries the way he has.
Just having a puff of his inhaler there, Ross Barkley. It is Loftus-Cheek who's going to make way. An embrace from Frank Lampard, but I think Loftus-Cheek will know he's not had the impact he would have hoped on this one.
Yeah, both he and Ross Barkley will be aware that they really need to impress in these opening matches in order to cement an opportunity at first team level at Chelsea. I think that with the players they brought in, that their places are very much under threat.
Here is Havertz into Mason Mount. Looks into the penalty area. Checks back onto the right foot. Back comes Lamptey. Does really, really well. Ben White will clear it. Just cut out by Christensen. The ball comes straight back. Here is Alonso. Infield to Jorginho. Long diagonal ball into the penalty area towards N'Golo Kante, who'd made a run into the penalty area. March will clear it. Not very far though. It's gone out for a Chelsea throw-in on this near side. Taken by Reece James. The scorer of the goal at the moment that separates the two sides. It's Brighton 1, Chelsea 2. Bringing you this watch-along live for Total Football Analysis. Sponsored by footballicons.com. For those of you joining us a little bit late, don't forget to smash the like button if you haven't already on whichever platform it is that you are joining us from. If you're watching us on Twitter, give it a retweet. Here is Bissouma. A little under half an hour for Brighton to find a way level for a second time in this match, having equalised through Leandro Trossard.
I think that Reece James goal was just a bit of a sucker punch for Brighton, just as they're starting to get the ascendancy. They get the goal, and and suddenly they feel positive in their chances, and then a player goes and does that, and then within a minute of the restart, it's just something that takes the wind completely out of your sails, and that is a situation that's difficult to pick yourself up from at this level.
They'll certainly feel as though the first goal they conceded was avoidable, but that second one, they could do absolutely nothing about it. A wonderful strike from Reece James. Lovely turn there from Ross Barkley to create space. Here's Kante into Kai Havertz. Reece James just overlapping. James receives it, cuts it back. Lovely flick from Werner goalwards. I think it hit the face of Lewis Dunk there, though.
Yeah, it was very nice from Werner again. Very sharp, good movement towards the front post. And he had the presence of mind to try the flick behind his back to get the ball towards goal. Good movement again from Chelsea. I think they're struggling slightly from a lack of natural width on this side, though. Reece James has to get up and round the outside of Kai Havertz more in order to create space for the German international.
Here's Ross Barkley. Werner onto it like lightning, but Barkley's the one who's retrieved it. Here's Kai Havertz. That was a chance for the German, but he completely fluffed his lines there. Slipped as he went to make contact with the ball.
Yeah, the ball went out for a throw in the end, which obviously wasn't the desired outcome from Havertz.
Wonderful strike that from Trossard. We're watching it again. Took a touch with his left foot. Drove it towards that far corner. Just takes that awkward bounce.
Yeah. You're never sure if the ball's going to skip up its speed or take a deeper bounce and it's hit like that. But very good angle, very good trajectory in the shot, and a good finish for Trossard. Kepa certainly couldn't be blamed for that.
No, he couldn't. Caballero watching on from the sidelines. Here's Kante. Alonso. Back to Jorginho infield. Into Kai Havertz. James has made the run on the flank again. James looks for a similar low delivery to the one he put in towards Timo Werner just a few moments ago. He doesn't find him this time, but he's won his team a corner.
Yeah, we're starting to see James make that run more to create that width that we talked about on this right-hand side. Kai Havertz obviously isn't a winger. He wants to operate in the half space or the central area. He doesn't want to be out in the touchline, so James really needs to make the effort to get round the outside, create that width, and just pull the Brighton defensive unit apart slightly to create space for his teammates.
James is going to deliver it, right-footed. Oh, and it's gone in! Chelsea have got another one. It's 3-1. This time it's Kurt Zouma. It certainly took a deflection off of somebody. I think it may have been Adam Webster, but it doesn't really matter. It's Chelsea 3, Brighton 1, and perhaps now the game is just out of reach for Graham Potter's side.
Yeah, you can't really say that was about any kind of movement. Again, it was a goal Brighton will be disappointed to have conceded. It was a cross in the area. Zouma has to reach back to hit the ball right-footed on the volley, and I think it takes a big deflection. Yeah, they see it there, a big deflection of the right centre half, and completely wrong foot to goalkeeper and trickles in the net.
It's a very lackluster effort, isn't it, from Kurt Zouma that you wouldn't have expected to trouble anyone, but that deflection was so significant. It's completely, as you said, wrong-footed Matt Ryan, and Chelsea have opened up a 2-goal lead with around about 23 minutes to play here at the Amex Stadium, and you feel now they're on their way to claiming their first 3 points of the Premier League season.
Yeah, I think so, and that's a goal and assist in the second half from Reece James now. He's obviously taken up the mantle and the challenge from Tariq Lampty to show that he is deserving of this space in the Chelsea side.
Here come Brighton. Solly March. Here is Stephen Alzate under pressure from Ross Barkley. Keeps the ball though. Here's Webster. Very unfortunate in what just happened.
Yeah, there's nothing he could do. He was defending his goal mouth, and the shot comes in. All Kurt Zouma's done is try to make contact on the ball, and as he does, it just swerves in the middle and takes a deflection past the goalkeeper.
Certainly an element of fortune in that one for Chelsea.
Chelsea are still. They look like they're really missing match practice. Their passes haven't been sharp. They've been giving the ball away, taking up poor angles to deceive the ball. Everything just feels a little bit off. They really need to work on this going forward.
Here's a dunk. Picked up by Trossard. Now Bissouma. Looking for Connolly's run. Connolly making a nuisance of himself, but just lost his footing there at the crucial moment. Reece James will come away with it for Chelsea. Goes back to Kepa. Slightly bizarre choice of pass there.
It certainly was. At that angle, at that pace as well, he really took a risk there, putting it through to Kepa. Luckily, the Spanish goalkeeper was able to deal with it and escape the ball through the other side of the box.
Here is Kepa to Christensen. Not sure what that was supposed to be. Some sort of dummy. He's got it clear. Havertz doing battle with Webster on this near side. I think it's going to be a Brighton throw-in. Here is Barkley. Alonso looking to deliver across. Blocked, well defended by Tariq Lampty. Can he prevent the corner? He has, but he's put the ball right on the foot of Mason Mount as a result.
It's interesting because for Chelsea, there's always a deliberate ploy that neither of their wide attackers, if you like, are playing wide. Both Mason Mount and Kai Havertz are looking to come inside more and more, and the width has to come from the fullbacks. Do we think when Ben Chilwell's fit, Chilwell will thrive in that kind of situation? And we've already seen that Reece James has the ability to get around the outside. So it's an interesting change of tactical system from Lampard. It'll be interesting to see as the players get more used to exactly how they can take advantage of the spaces that they create through this.
That's right. It's a great point. Here is Mopai. And now Leandro Trossard looks up, looks for Connolly's run, who made a move across towards that near post, but it was always going to be difficult to get that under control. Zuma's on the ball now for Chelsea into Jorginho, receives it inside his own penalty area and calmly finds Marcus Alonso. Here's a stat for you, Lee, that you'll enjoy. I'll just wait till this attack breaks down. Trossard in towards Mope. Kante gets a foot in. Kepa will come and claim this. Since he joined Chelsea in 2018, Kepa Arrizabalaga has conceded more Premier League goals from outside the box than any other goalkeeper. That's 19.
That's an interesting stat, especially, I mean, we talked about the fact his reactions are generally good, but those are more from short, sharp shots in the penalty area, and sometimes goalkeepers find it difficult. They shouldn't at the top level, but when you're talking about a goalkeeper that concedes a lot of goals from outside the area, it can be an issue with tracking. The ability to track the flight and the trajectory and the pace of a ball, and if that's an issue that he has, which would make sense sometimes with the difficulty he has in claiming cross balls as well, the difficulty in reading those. If that's the issue that he has, then really Chelsea do need to be moving on for looking for alternatives as soon as possible, because it's not something that's easy to fix.
Is Mendy from Rennes the person to replace him, though? I've got to be honest, I don't know anything about the guy.
Again, very good shot stopper, good with his feet, so he'll help with the progression of the ball out from the back. He's a player who is similar. He's not great eerily claiming crosses, but he does have a lot of positives about his game. Again, I'm surprised that they didn't firm up their interest in Andre Onana at Ajax. I think that he's a goalkeeper who is destined for the top level, and he has that extra ability, if you like, that extra X factor in goal that sometimes teams need. But certainly Mendy's a very interesting goalkeeper. I don't think I'd seen him linked to anywhere else before Chelsea moved for him. But if he is the one, then I'm sure that he will do well, and certainly it would be difficult to do worse, I suppose, over the last 2 seasons. It seems harsh for Kepa because he was such a good goalkeeper for a period of time at Athletic Bilbao, but just seems to have fallen away at Chelsea.
Here is Mason Mount inside the Brighton penalty area, but good work again from Tariq Lampty. There's over 100 of you watching us at the moment across the multiple platforms. Guys, let us know in the comments where you're tuned in from. Always interested to know where you guys are joining us from, what part of the world. So do let us know in the comments and we'll give you a shout out, of course. Here is Webster. Gets it back from Lewis Dunk. I mean, I know the game has essentially, well, it looks as though it's gotten away from Brighton here, but there will be some encouraging things that Graham Potter can take away from this, won't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Apart from the Reece James goal, the other two goals were entirely preventable. I don't think this is reason for Brighton to be worried or to change anything. I think, yes, they do need to consider their attacking options a little bit more, but certainly it's been positive for Brighton on the whole.
Here comes a Solly March with a storming run forward. That's really, really good work from Kai Havertz there to follow him all the way back and get a crucial challenge in. Big hello to Bruce, who's joining us from Zimbabwe, Imani from Botswana, Daryl from New York City, Dee from Seattle, Ilka from Helsinki. Very much a worldwide audience. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It is very much appreciated.
At the moment, you just feel like Brighton, they've kind of lost the tempo of the match a little bit. They need to do something to put a little bit of pace back into the game. So now Chelsea are completely comfortable. As we talked about at half time, they're defending that line just in front of the penalty area. They're quite happy to stay there. They're happy with the double pivot shielding them, and Brighton really are struggling to find a way to penetrate that.
Lampty will take the throw in on that far side for Brighton. Big hello to Mogama, who's joining us from South Africa, Johannesburg, to be specific. Got some viewers from watching us from Nigeria as well. Here is Solly March. Stands it up towards that far post. Marcus Alonso gets ahead to it, helps it on. Tariq Lampty will take it down, but he's immediately under pressure from Mason Mount. Looks to nutmeg him, but Mount was having none of it. It's been a really interesting battle between those two throughout, hasn't it?
Yeah, two players who know each other very well who came through the Chelsea system together. I'm sure that if that nutmeg had came off, that Lamptey would be reminded Mount of that for some time, to be perfectly honest.
Here is Dunk. Just takes it down.
And this is where there needs to be more intent from Brighton. They need to find a way to penetrate the penalty area quicker than they are. Everything's just slowing down and going back and changing the angle. They need to be more vertical and find those passing lanes quicker.
It's all kind of very nice up until this point, isn't it? And then after that...
That's exactly it. They're a very nice team. They're a tidy team, a technical team. But they're missing something. They're missing an edge.
Here is Ross Barkley driving forward for Chelsea. Slips Timo Werner in. The angle's tight. Gets the shot away anyway, but it's good defending from Ben White. He concedes a corner. The angle was always against him, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's tiring slightly. You can see there that Barkley's waiting for him to make a move, waiting. Eventually the ball gets slipped through. Normally Werner would have that ball out of his feet quicker and the shot would be a lot sharper. I think towards the start of the game we would have seen that, but this time he just hesitates enough and lets the defender get back.
Ben White struggling, having made that challenge. Brighton will be hoping they're not going to lose another key player to injury. I think he'll be okay. A former Leeds United loanee. Played every minute of every game in the Championship last season for Marcelo Bielsa's side.
Barely got a booking. Former Newport County loanee as well before that.
Didn't know that. There you go.
I don't think he did quite as well in that loan spell.
As James delivers into the box, met by the head of Bissouma at the near post. Brighton get it clear. Connolly would chase it out, but Chelsea just turn the ball back around, and they'll come forward again. James's cross deflected into the arms of Ryan.
Yeah, just going back to Ben White quickly, it caught a lot of people at Leeds by surprise, but the story apparently is that Bielsa came into Leeds, and when he did, he was adamant that Ben White was the defender that he wanted for his system, and a lot of the Leeds recruitment staff had to go out and find out more about Ben White because he wasn't somebody who was on the radar before that. Obviously, Bielsa knows exactly the kind of players that fit his system well.
It's amazing to think that he took a job in England where he'd never worked before, and he had knowledge of sort of Brighton fringe players
Yeah,
in order to identify them for his team. That just shows you how meticulous his attention to detail and how obsessed the guy must be with football.
yeah. I think that's the key. It's that obsession, isn't it? There was the story that recently he had an opposition scouting report, and he had something like 16 pages on the opposition third choice goalkeeper. I'm not sure exactly how you could have 16 pages on a third choice goalkeeper, and I tend to write quite a bit, but there you go.
16 pages, wow. Speaking of the number 16, Brighton's number 16 is going to be coming on now. Double change being made. It's Ali Reza Yahangbaksh. He's replacing Stephen Alzate. And Ben White is also going to make way. Walking a little bit gingerly is Ben White.
Yeah, Brighton hope that's only an impact injury. Pascal Gross is a very interesting player coming on, though. Definitely an offensive move, an attacking change. Pascal Gross will go up and play close at the front players. And if they get any free kicks or set pieces around the area, then watch out, because he really is an expert from those situations.
Reece James into Jorginho. Now down the line into Havertz. Brighton concede a throw in. Chelsea just happy to keep the tempo down. See this one out. They're going to make a change as well now. Havertz is making way. It's going to be Callum Hudson-Odoi to replace him. Debut done. What did you make of it, Lee?
Difficult. I think that you could see what Chelsea wanted from him in terms of the positions he's expected to take up, and that's interesting. I do think that going forward, that'll be a position that we see Hakim Ziyech in more often. Kai Havertz potentially playing as that 10 where Loftus-Cheek and now Barkley were behind Werner's more interesting to me. But I think there were flashes of good things from Havertz, also some rawness, some poor touches, a lack of match sharpness, but all of it will come. I think that in a debut, you just have to give the player time to get used to the pace of the game at the Premier League level before you really start to judge him.
Tariq Lamptey's going to pick up a yellow card here for that challenge. Certainly looked a foul. Not sure if it warranted a yellow card. We'll have a look now. Yeah, I think it did. Just the way he sort of scissored Barkley's leg with that follow through as well.
He also had the wide-eyed innocence afterwards, which I always like in a player.
Daniel Robert in the comments, he says Havertz was dreadful. So not everybody impressed with what Kai Havertz.
No, but again, you've got to give him time to develop and time to get used to the system. The problem is that they've paid such a high price for him that a lot of people will be expecting instant results, and to an extent you can understand that. I think that as the season goes on, we'll really see the value in Kai Havertz for Chelsea.
I always think, though, and it's very similar to the sort of Nicolas Pepe situation at Arsenal, where the fee was a little bit over the top, and all of a sudden everybody expects the world overnight. The issue is that, and where I've got sympathy for these players, is that they don't set their price tags.
No, absolutely not. The price is set by the buying club. If they're willing to pay that price, that's the price of the player.
Lamptey looks to slip Connolly in there. Didn't quite find him. Here's Pascal Gross out to the left-hand side where Trossard will pick it up, delivers right-footed towards the far post. Marcus Alonso just tucking in there and doing a good defensive job. He smashes that clear, but it'll come back. Here is Trossard once again. Tried to pick out Maupay in the middle, but his teammate got in the way.
Yeah.
Solly March.
He tried to make an underlap and run, and as the ball came in from the left-hand side, just rebounded off Solly March's knees. He tried to run across the path of the goal. Easy mistake to make early in the season. Again, as the season goes on, we expect these things to be ironed out and these movements and patterns to become more natural, if you like. It looks like Jorginho might be the player that's down at the moment for Chelsea.
Yeah, he's sitting on the ground. It's probably as good a time as any for me to let you know about the games we'll be bringing you next weekend. On Sunday, we'll be bringing you Chelsea versus Liverpool. Of course, that is a big one. We'll get a good look at Chelsea again and a good look at Liverpool after a questionable performance against Leeds at the weekend. And then on Monday night, it's Wolves against Manchester City, a tough test for Pep Guardiola's side, which will in what will be their first game of the season, because of course they haven't played this weekend due to their UEFA Champions League commitments. Cesar Azpilicueta getting prepared to come on for Chelsea. Jorginho just slowly making his way off the pitch. I'm sure it's partly a time-wasting exercise as well. The hope is that football fans are going to return soon. And I know that my club, Arsenal, are hoping to get some of us back into the ground next month. Season ticket holders have been asked to go into a ballot to see who will be allowed to attend. Of course, they also offered people the opportunity to opt out for the season if they wish without losing it as well, which is something that I expect a number of clubs to probably follow suit on in the coming weeks.
Yeah, my club Aberdeen actually had 300 fans at Pittodrie this week for their tie against Kilmarnock. They did the same thing. Season ticket holders could enter via ballot, and the tickets got allocated that way. I think they're hoping for 750 at the next test game.
Really looking forward to getting back in there as soon as possible. I went yesterday for a tour of the stadium to take some pictures with the FA Cup with my son. Took him down there for the first time, and it really made me miss the match day experience, just being there and sort of looking around. And just it makes you miss it, and you realise how nice it is to be able to go football without worrying about any sort of illnesses or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that the match day experience at the Emirates might be slightly different to Pittodrie. You might be missing the cold wind off the North Sea and the seagulls trying to attack you at half time. But we're still hopeful of getting back in and looking forward to it.
Exactly. Daniel says, are you going to do a Burton versus Villa commentary? It's not on the schedule, unfortunately, my friend. What else have we got here? Darryl says, Brighton look a decent side, tidy, possession-based with pace on the wings. Final third needs to be sorted, as you guys have already mentioned.
That's all they're missing. I mean, at the moment, you can see everything that Graham Potter's trying to build here. They're a very smart club. They're run in the same way that Brentford are run. Their owner, Tony Bloom, is somebody who's made a lot of money through gambling and using data. And interestingly, they now own different clubs throughout Europe as well. They've got a Belgian second-tier club that they're using as a starting point for young players. So definitely interesting thing on the South Coast with Brighton.
Here is Alonso. Here's Kante. Can Chelsea find a fourth goal? Really put the icing on the cake for Frank Lampard's side. Here's Callum Hudson-Odoi, now Cesar Azpilicueta. Two players with fresh legs and able to get up and down that flank. The last thing the Brighton defenders would have wanted to see was a couple of fresh legs coming on that side. Here's Kante. Big hello to Lawrence, who's watching us from Zambia. Now Barkley. Ball into the channel for Connolly to chase onto, but he just was pipped to it by the Chelsea defender.
I think Christensen's done quite well tonight. That was good reading of the game. Got across well to intercept the ball in a dangerous area.
Here's Mason Mount, takes it down beautifully. Now Timo Werner. Kante. If you're watching us via Total Football Analysis' YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed if you're new. Hit the like button as well. If you're watching us via Hot Mic, like, share the broadcast. You know the drill by now. If you're watching us on the Chronicles of a Gooner channel, big hello to you guys as well. Again, like, subscribe if you're new. A couple of you asking in the comments about the Adrian Clark show tomorrow, what time it is. It will be 8:30 p.m. UK time, so you can come and join myself and Adrian for that. We'll be looking back at the weekend's game and discussing all things transfer related as well. Here is Matt Ryan to Ben. I almost said Ben White. It's Webster. So used to seeing Ben White on the right-hand side of that central defensive unit.
Yep.
Here's Lewis Dunk for Brighton. Game's just fizzled out a little bit now as we enter the final stages. Here's Timo Werner. Can he register a debut goal? Kante makes a wonderful run on the outside, cuts one back. Mason Mount went flying in. I think he caught Lewis Dunk there.
Yeah. Just high studs. His foot was raised as he went for the ball there. Always a dangerous thing to do and an easy way to give away a free kick. But that was good again from Timo Werner. He just delayed, let N'Golo Kante get down the outside and a good clip ball into the middle. Timo Werner's obviously, I think, has had an excellent debut. Perhaps that is part of the reason that Kai Havertz's performance pales in comparison.
Yeah, good point. Into the 90th minute now. Not long to go at all. 4 minutes of stoppage time. I've had some of that already. Here's Trossard. Now Dunk. Pascal Gross just dropping a little bit deeper than he'd normally like. Ball played out to the right-hand side by Johan Baksh. Here's Lampty. Infield to the Iranian. Webster. What do you reckon, Lee? Did Chelsea miss Willian?
Quite possibly that was something that might tell over the course of the season. But I think that if Havertz and if Ziyech can be as good as advertised and they can settle into this team, they can offer the same kind of output that Willian puts. But he was certainly excellent in his debut for Arsenal.
I can't take the credit for that comment. That came from Daniel Robert in the chat. So thank you for that. Couldn't resist it.
You understand it from both points of view. Chelsea wanted to get younger in terms of the age of their squad, and they were offering Willian a contract, and he didn't like the amount of years that were on offer. So, of course, he's perfectly entitled to move on to another club, but I'm sure Chelsea would have loved to have him under their terms.
For sure. Here is Alonso. His clearance is deflected. Webster just about keeps it in. Bissouma takes it down on the chest. Lays it back to Matt Ryan.
I think it's always an interesting match when it ends 3-1 to a club, but the best player in the park's been on the opposite team. I think that Tariq Lampty is by far the best player tonight.
So I'm assuming he is your man of the match this evening.
He certainly would be, I don't think there's any doubt. I think that he's offered the opportunity for Brighton to change the game time and time again, and he's really shone while other players have been rusty and less sharp than normal. He certainly hasn't been.
It's hard to disagree with you on that. He's definitely impressed. And so the Total Football Analysis man of the match this evening is Brighton's Tariq Lampty. Let us know your man of the match in the comments. Do you agree with Lee's choice, or is there somebody else you would award it to based on this evening's game? Around about a minute of stoppage time remaining here. Webster just going forward there for Brighton. Can they nick a goal to make the scoreline a little bit more respectable? Solly March puts it in towards the penalty area. Alonso gets ahead to it. Lamptey picks it up. A little bit too elaborate with that was Tariq Lamptey. Here's Kante. Daniel Robert would give it to Reece James. Moga Matt agrees with you, Lee. He's put Lamptey as well. He says he deserves the man of the match.
I mean, you can see the Reece James argument in terms of just contribution and affected the scoreline. His goal obviously was an absolute cracker, and then he got that assist from the corner. But in terms of overall performance, I think that Lamptey's outshone him.
Agreed. The final whistle has gone at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Chelsea 3. Goals from Jorginho from the spot for Chelsea to open it. Trossard equalised after 54 minutes before Reece James's absolute screamer put Chelsea back in front, and then Kurt Zouma sealed the points with a slightly fortunate goal for Frank Lampard's Blues. They start their Premier League campaign with a win. It's a defeat for Brighton, but they'll take some encouragement from what they've seen from their side this evening. The performance certainly isn't in line with the scoreline, I would say anyway. A big thank you to every single one of you who's joined us on whichever platform it is you chose to join us from. Don't forget to subscribe, like quickly before we lock off the video. And as I said, we'll be back next weekend bringing you a couple more Premier League games. We're going to bring you Chelsea versus Liverpool on Sunday, followed by Wolves versus Manchester City on Monday. So lots to look forward to. Thank you all for your continued support, and we'll be back very soon. Cheers.